Imagine walking through narrow, dark, muddy streets as the cold fog of late 19th century London creeps through the alleys of Whitechapel. You hear footsteps behind you, but when you turn, no one is there. A chilling whisper seems to float in the air, and fear crawls up your spine. Now imagine that, on that very night, a woman disappears, or worse, is found dead with horrific signs of violence. And the killer, invisible, uncatchable, a monster no one ever saw, yet everyone feared, Jack the Ripper. Who was he? A common psychopath, a genius of evil, or just a name that became legend for its unparalleled horror? For decades, investigators, historians, and curious minds have tried to answer this question, but every clue only deepened the mystery. Mysterious letters sent to the police, confusing witness accounts, and a trail of blood that seemed to play hide-and-seek in the shadows. Today, we dive into this dark enigma, the victims, the locations, the eeriest accounts, and the question everyone still asks: did Jack really exist as we know him, or is he just a shadow of fear feeding off Victorian London itself? Brace yourself, because what you're about to hear is disturbing, fascinating, and may make you look over your shoulder the next time you walk alone at night. To understand the terror Jack the Ripper unleashed, we need to go back to the late 19th century in a London marked by extreme contrasts. While the British Empire was expanding, cities like London were growing chaotically, overflowing with people from the countryside and immigrants searching for a better life. Whitechapel, in the east of the city, was the heart of this chaos. Narrow streets, filthy alleys, cramped houses, and dark corners where poverty mixed with daily violence. The social inequality was shocking. While some areas of the city flaunted wealth and technological progress, Whitechapel simmered with crime, prostitution, and alcoholism. For its residents, life was a constant struggle, and the night brought very real fears, muggings, fights, and disappearances. It was in this suffocating, hostile environment that Jack chose to strike. He didn't just target defenseless women. He attacked the heart of a flawed system where the police were overwhelmed and the press hungered for sensationalism. The Victorian media quickly turned Jack into a phenomenon. Newspapers published gruesome details, sometimes exaggerated or even fabricated, creating an atmosphere of collective panic. Letters supposedly sent by the killer sparked both fear and fascination, as if he were playing with the entire city. This mix of real horror, extreme poverty, and morbid curiosity cemented Jack the Ripper in history, not just as a criminal, but as a symbol of urban fear. It's important to remember that criminology was in its infancy. Modern investigative methods like fingerprints or DNA didn't exist. Everything depended on human observation, rumors, and often contradictory witness accounts. This turned each case into an almost impossible puzzle, making Jack's mystery eternal. Diving into this story, we don't just see a killer, we see an entire city reflecting its fears and failures. Whitechapel became the stage for one of the darkest legends in the world. And the name Jack the Ripper still echoes today as a warning. In the darkness, monsters can hide where we least expect them. At night, Whitechapel was a labyrinth of shadows and unsettling silences. It was in this setting that Jack the Ripper began his series of crimes that would shock London and the world. Between August and November of 1888, 5 women, known as the canonical victims, were brutally murdered: Mary Ann Nichols, Annie Chapman, Elizabeth Stride, Catherine Edos, and Mary Jane Kelly. Each crime was more horrifying than the last, marked by extreme violence and mutilations that left even the most experienced police officers bewildered. The victims, mostly prostitutes working the cold streets of Whitechapel, were chosen with chilling precision. Jack did not act at random. He struck in dark alleys where visibility was minimal and help non-existent. Some accounts describe him as a calm, silent man, approaching his victims without arousing suspicion, while others speak of an almost ghostly presence, impossible to identify. This contrast only heightened the collective fear. No one knew if the killer was a common neighbor, a doctor, or someone completely detached from reality. What was most disturbing was not only the brutality, but the control Jack seemed to exert over the city. Letters sent to the police and press, signed Jack the Ripper, mocked authorities, taunted the police, and instilled terror in every line. Among them, the infamous From Hell letter contained pieces of human organs sent along with the message, reinforcing the sense that the killer was always one step ahead. The case quickly spread beyond Whitechapel. All of London was on high alert, streets emptied at night, and residents avoided any dark alley. Police patrolled relentlessly, yet Jack seemed to vanish as if he were part of the very fog that cloaked the city. Each murder sparked new theories: a doctor, a member of royalty, a solitary lunatic. The uncertainty and fear transformed Jack into a true symbol of horror that transcended crime and became almost supernatural. Beyond the canonical victims, there are reports of other suspicious deaths attributed to him, though never confirmed. Each new murder fueled rumors, tales of apparitions, and sightings of strange figures in the alleys. The public, both fascinated and terrified, began weaving their own narrative, blending facts, exaggerations, and pure imagination. This combination of reality and legend is what keeps Jack alive in collective memory, as if he were an eternal shadow drifting through the alleys of London, always out of reach, always mysterious. Jack the Ripper is not just the story of a criminal, it is the story of a city that, shrouded in poverty, fear, and mist, produced a legend that still challenges our understanding. Every detail, every witness account, every letter or rumor creates an atmosphere of suspense that makes us ask, will we ever know the truth? Or will Jack forever remain a shadow, silently walking between history and myth? As the series of murders unfolded, London sank into an almost tangible panic. The accounts of the victims and crime scenes were so disturbing that even the most seasoned police officers were left horrified. Witnesses claimed to have seen a man of ordinary appearance, often described as polite and well-dressed, approaching innocent women before vanishing into the foggy alleys of Whitechapel. Others swear they felt a threatening presence, as if terror itself had taken human form. Each crime seemed to follow a cruel, calculated pattern. Jack struck at night, in isolated places, and his mutilations were meticulously precise, indicating anatomical knowledge that terrified both the public and investigators. Letters sent to the police only deepened the mystery, openly challenging the authorities' ability to catch him. The most famous, the Dear Boss letter, signed Jack the Ripper, mocked officials and foreshadowed the violence yet to come. Perhaps the most intriguing aspect is that, despite all these crimes, Jack vanished without a trace. No suspect was ever definitively identified. No arrest solved the case. Decades of studies, modern analyses, and even DNA investigations have failed to reveal his true identity. Was Jack a real individual or a symbol of the fear that permeated Victorian London? Some researchers suggest he could have been anyone: a doctor, an immigrant, even a member of the elite. But the lack of concrete evidence keeps the mystery alive. Jack's terror was not confined to his direct victims. It spread through the streets, the homes, the newspapers, and the collective imagination. Whitechapel became synonymous with invisible danger, a place where the line between reality and legend blurred. Even centuries later, studying his crimes still sends chills down our spines, leaving the unsettling doubt that monsters may walk among us, hidden in plain sight. Jack the Ripper remains the ultimate icon of evil, that no one could capture, a puzzle that defies logic and fuels our morbid curiosity. Jack the Ripper was not just a killer. He became an eternal symbol of fear and mystery. His crimes have spanned centuries, turning into legend, inspiring books, films, and stories that still leave us unsettled. Whitechapel, London, and even the entire world felt the impact of his actions, not just through physical horror, but through the psychological fear that spread like a dense fog, impossible to dissipate. What is most disturbing is that, even with all modern technology and advances in criminology, Jack's true identity remains unknown. He reminds us that evil doesn't always have a face, that terror can hide in plain sight, and that some stories simply refuse to end. When we look back at the dark, muddy streets of Whitechapel, we feel the presence of a shadow that never left, a question that was never answered. Will we ever know who Jack really was? If you share the same curiosity and fascination we feel while telling this story, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. That way, you won't miss any of our investigations into the world's darkest mysteries. And remember, sometimes monsters aren't just in old newspaper pages or stories told at night. They could be lurking in any shadow.